Coming up on Mountain News at 6, the third annual Harlan County Drug Summit took place earlier today. We will have a recap of the event. And we will tell you more about a bill that could allow folks to hunt and fish on their own property without a license.
Plus, we are tracking some strong winds to return by tomorrow. Your forecast on the way as Mountain News at 6 starts now.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News at 6.
Many here in our viewing area should see calm weather this evening, but that will not be around for too much longer as heavier pockets of rain and gusty winds look to make their way back into eastern Kentucky. Meteorologist Cameron Aaron is back with us and has more about that. Cameron?
Yeah, Olivia, we are tracking some fantastic weather this evening, and be sure to enjoy that because big changes are ahead. As we go into your Friday, we do have a first alert weather day in place tomorrow for gusty winds, heavy rainfall, and then some extremely cold air as we go into this weekend. Also early next week, we could see winds up to 40, 50, possibly 60 miles per hour in some areas. The good news, the rainfall not terribly heavy, but possibly some heavier pockets in some areas. And then before it's all said and done, maybe a few snowflakes as well. But this evening, this camera is not working, but we are tracking a fantastic sunrise or sunset across the mountains. Let me pull up the UVA-wise camera real quick. You can see that back in the distance there as that sun continues to set. And those current temperatures down to 41 degrees over in Wise right now. But most of us still in the 50s, up to 52 in Somerset, 54 in Harlan, 50 over in Williamsburg at this hour. And those winds a little bit breezy in some areas, but some much stronger winds are on the way as we go into tomorrow. A wind advisory in place for most of us, a high wind warning for Harlan County, also Letcher County, possibly a few power outages as those strong winds move through. More details on that busy forecast coming up in just a few minutes. Olivia?
Thank you, Cameron. The third annual Harlan County Drug Summit was hosted at the Harlan Center today. Several organizations got the chance to discuss actions they want to take against drug abuse. WYMT's Chandler Wilcox tells us how prevention is a point of emphasis.
Leaders speaking at the summit expressed their passion for preventing drug abuse, whether that be countrywide or countywide.
Washington, D.C. is not going to solve Harlan County problems. Harlan County is not going to be able to solve another county's problems. It's where every single community has to come together.
Mosley says they have received nearly $500,000 in opioid abatement money, giving them resources for several circumstances.
We have a lot of resources around treatment, recovery, housing, long-term recovery, programs for people who have been in addiction. But there just hasn't been enough investment made in prevention.
Prevention at several levels. Officials are including the younger generation in the fight as well. Students from Operation Unite clubs in nearby schools came to the event.
Operation Unite is doing some amazing work with prevention in our schools,
giving students the chance to be leaders early on.
It's very special to me that I get to deliver other people information about the effects of drugs.
Blevins says their involvement has made an impact for students.
It's really nice for everybody to know, especially in school, about how it can affect not only them, but the people around them.
Working together to prevent drug abuse. In Harlan County, Chandler Wilcox, WYMT Mountain News.
Harlan County Judge Executive Dan Mosley also says the summit keynote speaker will be talking to students at Harlan High School and Harlan County High School tomorrow. One person is dead after a two-vehicle crash. It happened yesterday evening on the southbound ramp on exit 41 getting off I-75. A person driving a semi-truck was hit in the back by someone driving a Chevy Equinox. The driver of the Equinox, 88-year-old Michael Powers of Michigan, was pronounced dead at the scene by the Laurel County coroner. The passenger, 86-year-old Shirley Powers, also of Michigan, was airlifted to UK hospital with serious injuries. One person is dead after a crash in Buchanan County, Virginia. The crash happened around 11:30 Monday morning on Route 83. A minivan was heading south on the route when it went into a curve before crossing the center line and striking an SUV head-on. The driver of the minivan, 72-year-old Stella R. Blankenship, was taken to the hospital where she died due to injuries sustained from the crash. Earlier today, 2 semi-trucks turned over and flipped on Interstate 75. State police say it happened in the southbound portion of Interstate 75 around mile marker 52 in Rockcastle County. Troopers say there were no deaths or major injuries reported. No word on whether or not all of the lanes through that section of the interstate are available to use. 2 people are behind bars after police say they tried to resist arrest. The incident happened Monday night. After deputies with London PD pulled over the 2 men, they learned both had active warrants. While 26-year-old Derek Feltner was taken into custody, 36-year-old Jermaine Riley left the vehicle he was in and took off on foot. Deputies were eventually able to track Riley down. Both Riley and Feltner were taken to the Laurel County Correctional Center. Lawmakers in Frankfort are weighing a bill that would mark the end of the death penalty in the Commonwealth. Representative James Tipton says a corrections impact statement filed last year found there to be approximately $26,000 in savings for each of the current 26 death row inmates to instead serve life sentences without parole. Another co-sponsor, Republican Representative Nancy Tate, says she had a change of heart on the issues as well.
I was a staunch, a determined supporter of capital punishment. And so they asked me to think about it and pray about it because their point was that they've never seen anyone that was as pro-life as I was. And so they were like, you know, Nancy, that's a contradiction of terms.
If the bill passes, the current 25 men and 1 woman on death row would be given sentences of life in prison without the possibility of parole. Senate Bill 5 became the first bill passed in the Senate on Tuesday and has since moved into the House for approval. The bill would remove an agree requirement for people who want to hunt and fish on their own property without hunting or fishing licenses. WYMT's Madison Carmouche has more from a Wolfe County farm owner.
Experts say that hunting and fishing are a part of the culture in Kentucky and especially in eastern Kentucky. And Senate Bill 5 would make that more accessible for people with less than 5 acres of property.
So if you have a smaller farm and you have a pond on that farm and you want to fish, you should have that right and opportunity to fish it or hunt it if that's what you want to do. But yeah, just giving all farm landowners the same opportunities regardless of the acreage that they own.
Not only are hunting and fishing recreational, but they can be life-sustaining for some folks.
So a lot of Kentucky's sportsmen and women utilize what they catch when they're fishing or what they are able to harvest during a hunt. So it's a great way of utilizing our natural resources in a sustainable and environmentally friendly way.
Whitley County Extension Agent Stacy White says that he has seen an interest in using game as food through UK's Cook Wild Kentucky program.
We have a Cook Wild Kentucky program, and we have a lot of folks come out to those programs, and it teaches people how to use our wildlife, fish and wildlife that they harvest, and we have recipes that they can use to prepare that for the table.
Cook Wild Kentucky is a nutrition education program for those enrolled in SNAP benefits to learn about preparing the state's most popular game for the dinner table.
It's for folks that are low income and that food stamp folks in the SNAP program. And so we have a lot of folks come out and participate to get those recipes and to sample those foods.
Regardless of party affiliation, the bill will increase food security for a lot of families in the region. Madison Carmouche, WYMT Mountain News.
The bill is currently in the House, but will become a law immediately following its approval. 5 Republicans have signed on to co-sponsor Senate Bill 61, which would eliminate no excuse early voting. But Secretary of State Michael Adams, who is also a Republican, is against the bill. The early voting period came about due to COVID, and since then Kentucky has kept that change. The bill still allows early voting 13 days prior, but certain requirements would have to be met first. Adams says early voting is popular and added, if it's not broken, do not fix it.
When I voted in 2016 for president, I waited in line for 3.5 hours. And I'm the kind of guy that's willing to do that, but not every boater is. And there were several people behind me that just said, forget it, and walked off.
Adams says if the bill passes, Kentucky will be ridiculed nationally for allowing early voting, then taking it away. Fallen Pikeville police officer Scotty Hamilton is being celebrated by the community he served for 12 years as they remember his life of dedicated sacrifice on a day devoted to his retired badge number. WYMT's Buddy Forbes has more about the one who made 111 a number to remember.
One life, one lion heart, one legacy.
The first January after Scotty's passing, the city declared that January 11th, which is 111, that was Scotty's badge number, would be declared Scotty Hamilton Day. Of course, you got the 111 on the front, and then that's a patch. That's his seam of his pants right there and stuff.
Pikeville police officer Scotty Hamilton was shot and killed in the line of duty March 13th, 2018.
He embodied this police department, and he embodied this community. Scotty was a true selfless servant. I went to school with Scotty. We graduated high school together, and even back in high school, everyone referred to Mr. Nice Guy.
Hamilton's family on the force has since worked to celebrate, commemorate, and cement his impact, keeping him alive by continuing his fight, saying he did not get enough days.
Very selfless as a co-worker. Scotty was very selfless as a friend. Scotty put people before him himself, and ultimately Scotty was the most selfless you could ever be by laying down his own life, doing what he did in law enforcement for this community.
So they share his story with the next generations, so that long after the stickers wither and the signs weather,
he'll never be replaced, and we'll never be able to uplift him enough.
Scotty Hamilton will always have his day. In Pikeville, Buddy Forbes, WYMT Mountain News.
Officers upheld their tradition of visiting the class of Hamilton's daughter Brindley this afternoon, sharing his story and reading to her classmates. They say they want to do everything possible to make sure his daughter always knows who her father was.
Well, we are dry this evening, but the forecast turns active by tomorrow, timing out those rain chances and those strong winds after this break.